an epic land, the ancient epicenter of commerce. Today we are emerging anew. As India turns 75, let's celebrate the most unique stories of big dreams, big take and bold minds coming together to build the most unique, modern marvels of engineering to build the unique backbone of a brand new India. Let's go discover what it takes to build India. Look around you. A lot of what surrounds you, from your favorite gizmos to the petrol that fuels your car, has probably spent some time on a ship. Namaskar, I am Vaibhav Dange. Today we are going to see the gateways of trade that will create a new $5 trillion economic powerhouse that will build India.
In the making, one of Gujarat's busiest ports, the gateway to Northwest India, Odisha's largest port, the gateway to East India's thriving steel industry, and India's best-rated port, the future multimodal logistics capital of India.
The backbone of the global economy is the humble ship. More than 40% of the country's sea trade went in and out of India through Gujarat's beautiful coastline. Right now, $47+ million are being pumped into the Deen Dayal port at Kandla to build the foundation of India's economy.
Before planes, before trains, even before the ancient Silk Route, ships sailed from Indus Valley's coast, today's Gujarat, to Mesopotamia, the Middle East today. Two of the world's oldest civilizations connected through maritime routes. Today, more than 90% of the world's trade moves on water. And so it is for India. With a coastline spanning more than a whopping 7,500 kilometers, more than 200 ports in India handle more than 1.2 billion metric tons of cargo every year. But India's fast-growing markets will need its ports to move more than 2.5 billion metric tons by 2030. Enter the Sagarmala project.
Sagarmala is a national program. It has got 5 pillars. The first one is the modernization of port. We want to make all the port competent enough to handle any kind of challenges of the global trade. Secondly, port connectivity enhancements, because this is mainly to connect with the landlocked areas. The third one is port-led industrialization. The fourth one is the coastal community development. And the last one is the coastal shipping as well as inland waterways. So these are the 5 pillars under Sagarmala program. Now it is under full implementation stage.
A tidal port, this terminal at the Deen Dayal port is not a simple upgrade for the J.M. Bakshi crew. Its placement on the map gives the port a distinct geographical advantage.
Well, Kandla is, I think, very strategically positioned. It's, I would say, the main gateway into northwest India. So states of Gujarat, Rajasthan, Punjab, Haryana, and then obviously right up to Kashmir and lots of parts of Uttar Pradesh. So logistically, it's extremely critical because you're dealing with a gateway to where the entire population, the entire agricultural production, industrial production, consumption, everything comes from that part of India. So Kandla is critical. It's a gateway to an artery of road, rail networks.
A favorite port for much of North India's exporters and importers, the port sends and receives more than 114 million metric tons of cargo a year. But here, the team engages in a daily battle against the Arabian Sea's choppy tides. The tides turn twice a day. Ships can only sail in and out safely when the waves run high. This means the crew has less than 12 hours to unload and load a ship.
That has always been a challenge for all our performance parameters, because we need to complete the ship within the stipulated time, like a 12-hour gap for any ship. It's 12, 24, 36, 48. That's how we need to plan our ship. So it's a reverse planning for the vessel to operate in a tidal port.
Since taking over ops here, the crew has added tailor-made, rail-mounted quay cranes to the Deen Dayal Port's kitty. Each ship that docks here puts the crane's operator in the hot seat.
ये हमें जो वेसल है वो टाइमिंग रहता है, वो टाइमिंग से सेल करना पड़ता है, तो क्या मूवमेंट सब फास्ट रहता है, तो उसके सेफ्टी के सब ध्यान में रखते हुए कंटेनर कहीं डैमेज ना हो जाए, वेसल कहीं कोई डैमेज ना हो, नीचे इतने सारे लोग हैं, तो वो सब को देखते हुए पूरा सेफ्टी से काम करना पड़ता है.
A task made even more challenging by the port's recent expansion endeavors.
When we took over this terminal, Kandla port was permitting us to handle ships up to the LOA of 220 meters only. Simulation exercises being carried out to ensure that safety of the ships are maintained. So that has been a landmark achievement in the history of Kandla, that ships size more than 300 meters are being handled out here, and 6,000 TEU plus ships have also been handled. The highest exchange we've had on a ship is 3,851 containers.
Speeding up at the docks means the rest of JM Bakshi's ops have to happen faster too. Crucial cargo cannot wait long at the yard. For industries, a minute wasted is money down the drain. The team has added rubber tire gantry cranes to move containers across the yard. Reach stackers to optimize available space and empty container handlers. Kandla Container Port today has direct rail connectivity too, slashing logistics costs for businesses across North India.
This is just the beginning. The Deen Dayal port has even more ambitious expansion plans. More berths, more terminals, even a brand new township. With 42 ports across a 1600-kilometer long coastline, Gujarat is on the cusp of creating a business boom across India. It may be easy to take our roads and bridges for granted. Have you ever thought about what it takes to move its raw materials? An almost $450 million project to enable Paradip port to receive ships so big they can carry at least 6 Brooklyn bridges in one go.
Infrastructure makes living, working, and thriving possible. Its skeleton, the global steel industry. India is the world's second largest producer of steel. The country can churn out 140 million tons a year. Accounting for more than a fifth, Odisha is the national steel capital, and it's about to skyrocket. But to move steel is not an ordinary task. At this terminal, the PM Shri crew has to factor in the metal sensitivity to dirt and water.
Earlier days, there was no port, no such type of a terminal here at Paradip, and this is the first time, last 3 to 4 years, this terminal is working. And because the main point is that if you really see inside the port, you will not get a clean berth. But in steel export, if you are doing any steel export from any terminal, the clean cargo berth terminal is very much required.
The crew upgrades the Paradip port to create an ecosystem that can easily move steel. Well connected by road to the hinterland, the Paradip port now also has a direct rail connection for heavy freight.
This is the terminal which has dedicated 2 rail sidings, full-length rail sidings, which connects directly to the East Coast Railway network. So it's an added advantage as most of our cargo is export cargo, and it comes directly from the plants, and therefore this rail connectivity is very important.
Sensitive to salty water, metals are quickly loaded into containers as they arrive. Moving metal is a delicate task. Any mistakes can cause massive damage to man and material.
We brought in IT systems. We have a terminal operating system through which we are carrying out the vessel operations, the yard operations.
The jetty has seen a massive overhaul. Boats that move heavy goods in bulk need deep waters to help bigger ships dock. Large-scale dredging conducted by PM Shri has added new depths to this coast. With a whopping 450-meter-long jetty, Paradip Port now has a deep draft terminal that works 24/7 to move more than 2.8 million tons of Odisha steel around the world. And that's just a year's work.
This terminal is very near to our Angul plant, steel plant. Then the handling, it is a clean cargo terminal. There is no other terminal available in the Paradip for this handling this cargo. Mainly all the European countries we are taking. We are also sending it to Canada, then the UK also. We are also sending billets to China, Indonesia, Southeast Asian countries.
So Paradip is, I would say, just the most stunning location in terms of, with respect to the steel industry. In terms of finished goods, the time it takes to get to a port and eventually to international markets, I think it's extremely important. And I think Paradip, on that count, I think has no other parallel anywhere in the east coast of India. And in terms of as a steel port, I think probably is the most efficient port in the country. And that's what drives the competitiveness of the steel industry as a whole. So Paradip is critical, it's a vital gateway.
Odisha's very first port, Paradip, initially began as a single commodity port in 1966 to move iron ore. In just the last 8 years alone, Paradip port has slashed the turnaround time per ship from 7 days to a little less than 2 per ship. Even as the cargo handled has increased by more than 45 million tons to hit a record 116 plus million tons of cargo a year.
Now the second busiest port in India, Paradip has transformed into a powerhouse of economic development for Odisha and for India. The gateway to India. In Mumbai, that's not just the monument, that's also the best rated port in India, connected to 200 countries around the world. The Jawaharlal Nehru Port Trust is at the epicenter of the Sagarmala project's port expansion plans.
A 20 or 40 foot long rectangular steel box, the beginning of a revolution in the global logistics chain. Sacks, barrels and loose goods gave way to the container in the late 1950s in the United States of America. Manually loading ships cost almost $6 a ton. The container slashed the costs to just 16 cents. Today, more than 5,000 freighters carry more than $14 trillion of world's goods in more than 17 million containers to ports across the world. Containerization is the backbone of globalization of the world economy. Jawaharlal Nehru Port handles more than 43% of the containers coming in and out of India.
JNPT came into existence in 1989 as a container specialized port, where we probably started with less than 1 million TEUs, and 2022 we've handled 5.68 million TEUs. This journey basically means that we have become the largest container handling port of the country over the years. And the other part is that very recently the Logistics Performance Index tells that we are the best performing port in the country.
But to operate on this scale means continuous expansion.
The first part, of course, is to have that kind of infrastructure where we can handle vessels of this size. The other part is to have the kind of equipment, the kind of cranes that are modern, automated, and can be used for handling containers.
Each container at the Jawaharlal Nehru Port is moved and monitored at the state-of-the-art control room. This crew follows the container from the port's special parking plaza as trucks come in, wait, and head to the terminal, onto ships sent towards the world's markets. Minute operations are diligently managed by this 24/7 crew. Standardizing container sizes was the starting point of multimodal logistics. Today, the Jawaharlal Nehru Port is building towards becoming the epicenter of a multimodal logistics ecosystem for the country.
In port modernization and port development of new port, we almost doubling our capacity in container as well as in liquid. Enhancement of port connectivity, we have connected our port to the state highways and national highways by 6 and 8 lanes road. In all round development has been taken place in Sagarmala, and which enhanced our effectiveness and efficiency. The Port Performance Index, which just declared that this year JNPT topped in all the government as well as private ports.
The Jawaharlal Nehru port is building towards becoming India's trade center with a special economic zone to incentivize businesses to set up port side. This land is built to attract more than $500 million in business investment. That's more than 150,000 jobs and limitless possibilities for India's economy. Trade through India's ports have shot up by almost 250 million metric tons in the last decade and a half.
Last year, the top 5 of India's 200 ports have logged the highest traffic they have ever seen. With $82 billion getting pumped into Indian ports by 2035, these gateways of trade are well on their way to build a new India.